Keri Hilson is back in the news and seems to be on a victory lap of vindication involving her infamous diss of Beyonce. Ciara was also dissed, but of course Beyonce is the focal point because she's Beyonce. Now for those of you that don't know, on her debut album titled In a Perfect World was the song Turnin' Me On, a fun R&B song featuring Lil Wayne, which became a top 15 hit in the States. A remix of this track was leaked, which have lyrics assumed to be about Beyonce and Ciara. Your vision cloudy if you think that you're the best. You can dance, you can sing, but you need to move it to the left, a reference to Irreplaceable. She then says, she needs to go have some babies. She needs to sit down. She faked them other chicks ain't even worth talking about, which got the press talking. At the time of the remix's release, Carrie said, I'm not jealous of anybody's career. I've worked with Ciara many times. I'm a fan of Beyonce's. The funny thing is the remix of this song does not even match the original subject matter. The original song is just playful, talking about a guy turning her on. And Carrie recently did an interview with The Breakfast Club, basically giving more context to the diss, how she was pressured into doing it, fought against it, and was led astray about the song's release. It's a mess. And since this interview, Carrie has continued to receive vindication for how things played out. Now, people in music circles have been knowing this for a while, but it seems like the platform Carrie was on has finally helped it reach general audiences. Carrie was signed to Polo Don and Timbaland. Carrie was adamant that she did not want to do a diss. However, she claims that she was told they would not release her music if she didn't do it. She went on years defending the remix and protecting everyone until the truth finally reached enough ears. Carrie didn't even write the full song or the diss lines. Esther Dean did.
It's a regret, but not in the way that people would think, because that's a song that I actually didn't write. Those are not my words. I was on tour. Polo wanted me to do a remix to Turnin' Me On. Mm-hmm. He had produced the record, and I wasn't, because I was on tour with Lil Wayne. I wasn't able to lay anything down. He had been on me for a couple weeks about we need to do a remix. Okay, so I take off. It wasn't happening quick enough for him. I take off. We fly in, and he had another writer in our camp at the time. He had her write this. So he played it for me, this is the remix, because I'm thinking I'm coming in to go write a remix to Turnin' Me On. Mm-hmm. The whole time I had been writing concepts, but I come into the studio and he plays me this verse, and I'm automatically, I'm not saying that. Mm-hmm. That was my position. So I tried to fight him on it, and I began writing my own. That's what I did with my time there, but I want to be careful with the word I use. Mm-hmm. It was quite forceful, you know what I mean?
In an executive artist way?
Yeah, in an executive artist way only. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I take off, involving others and kind of threatening my career, in a real sense. You're not coming, because my album wasn't out yet. Mm-hmm. So it was you're not coming out if you don't do this. And the mistake that I made was not continuing to fight, but I was in tears. I was crying. I was adamant that I did not want to do that.
And for people that don't know, you were signed to Polo.
I was signed to Polo and Timbaland.
Correct.
Yep, in a joint venture at Interscope Records.
Yep.
And I was young. I was super young. I felt I had no power. I felt I had no choice. But I did record my version, which had nothing like that in it. It was on subject. The song is about men. And it leaked days after I did it, but he promised me that wouldn't happen, so it leaked. And that was that. And I protected him. I protected the girl that wrote it, who went on to become famous. I protected everyone in the story, so I had to eat that.
It was all label trickery, and this is not necessarily unique to this situation. Rivalries and disses have always been used to sell records and ignite some controversy. But it sucks when the person on the losing end gets hit hard, especially when it wasn't in their control. At least full control. Her team is the one to blame. They set her up to fail. And I really don't understand why. Carrie had her own wave going on, and I remember her hits being very loved and successful. Esther Dean actually came out and confirmed that she wrote the lyrics and said, and did, it was a hit. Her proudness got her a lot of backlash, and she eventually issued a public apology. I submitted a lot of verses for that remix. One got picked, and it was co-written with Carrie. Looking back, it was childish and didn't age well. I see how it hurt people, especially women, and I take full accountability. I've worked with and supported many women since, but that doesn't erase the moment. Growth is real, and so is this apology. But Carrie was not here for Esther making it seem like she co-wrote the diss itself, when in reality, Carrie only wrote a few lines that align with the original meaning of the song. She even pinpointed exactly which lyrics were written by her. Been getting dollars, bae. Go and get your money up. No, you ain't the only homie on me, line up. The softest section, she said. Lines about a boy, because not only did I strongly disagree with the unnecessary hateful sentiments towards other women, and I've never been a fan of the publicity stunt method, she added that her original objection was that the diss simply wasn't on subject. Carrie checked Esther and said, "You chose to stay quiet for 16 years, but coming out now, when you felt a portion of the heat I've gotten all this time." And Esther released an entire public statement. Open letter from Esther Dean, for Carrie, for creatives, for the record. I've stayed quiet for a long time, but I believe in telling the truth, especially when the internet starts telling its own version of the story. Back in July 2008, I started working with Polo the Don in Atlanta. Later, I moved to LA to write for Polo's artists over at Interscope. I wasn't famous, I wasn't chasing clout, I was in the studio day and night, writing 3 to 4 songs a day. No friends, no family, just work whenever the studio was open. I wrote. When Polo called, I showed up. That's who I was. Turn Me On remix one night, Polo asked me to write a remix verse for Keri Hilson. Something street, something for the culture. He left the room, and I sat there trying different ideas. For the record, I didn't work with Beyonce until years later, when I signed to Roc Nation as a writer. There was no plot, no beef squad, no secret industry mission. Just writers writing. Artists being artists. People trying to win. Carrie was already massive. She didn't need saving. She was out there making history. Why speak now? Because while our stories may look similar now, back then they weren't. Carrie was speaking on big platforms I didn't have access to, and it was her story to tell, not mine. I stayed writing. No hate, no shade, just truth. What Carrie went through was sad. She's a great artist, a beautiful spirit, and she deserves grace. She took her lessons, I'll take mine, respect always. It's so interesting that literally everyone involved in this diss worked with Beyonce after this incident, and Carrie was left in the dust. For those of you that don't know, Esther wrote Countdown, which is a fantastic highlight of B's career. She also wrote Start Over though, which is a total skip. Timbaland worked on Drunken Love and Partition. Polo the Don worked on Bow Down, which is also kind of a diss to the industry. It almost reads like an odd full circle moment. Literally all of the people involved went on to have gigantic careers, long resumes, and Carrie was the butt of the joke. It's unfortunate. I will say the framing of the situation is what really annoys me, because a single diss did not derail Keri Hilson's entire career. She had hits after the diss, and arguably her most known song, Pretty Girl Rock, come out after the diss. I don't think the diss necessarily did her any favors, especially given Beyonce's continued success and Carrie slipping into the background. It definitely made it easier for people to dogpile on her. But more than anything, Keri Hilson only had 2 albums. She had nothing that she could bounce back with. I think the whole diss drama has become a scapegoat for her music career, at least for the public. It's not the full truth. Ultimately, I don't think this incident should define Keri Hilson or be held over her head. Honestly, I think the lore behind it is much more interesting than what actually happened. I also think Carrie has her own light and own work worthy of acknowledgement. Her hit run was nice and she was pretty versatile. From Turning Me On to Knock You Down, from her pop hits with Timbaland, Return the Favor, and The Way I Are, they are sublime dance floor anthems. Obviously, Pretty Girl Rock is a banger. She has songs like Slow Dance, Where Did He Go, that absolutely go off. Her work as a songwriter as well. Loved what she did on Britney Spears' Blackout, Icebox by Omarion, Sierra, Runaway Love by Mary J. She has some credits from the 2000s and 2010s that absolutely bang, not only as a performer but as a songwriter. So I do hope moving forward this conversation becomes less centric to Keri Hilson and that people can move on for once and for all.